Do you remember how great you felt the first time you rode a motorcycle? If you're like me, you're coming back to riding after a bunch of years off. Maybe you left because of family, maybe you left because of money, maybe you left because you had a crash and you just couldn't get back on the bike. But you're older now and you've decided it's time. None of us are getting any younger, and the older we get, the less time we have to chase our dreams. Riding is one of those things that you don't just forget about with time. If it's something you want to do, it's something that'll haunt you until you do it. As someone who came back to motorcycling later in life, it's turned out to be something I can't live without. It's my main source of relaxation. It's the thing that gets me out of the day-to-day and back to feeling alive. Remember back when you used to ride? There was a feeling you got from twisting the throttle, hearing the engine spool up, and letting the wind blow through your soul. None of that has changed. It's still there if you want it. If you're just getting back into riding, it might be important to understand why you left in the first place. For me, there were two reasons. I moved to the city, and I had a close call. When I moved to Portland, Oregon, it was the first time living in the city in quite a while. I had never ridden in the city before, and I wasn't about to start, especially in a completely foreign city to me. So I sold my bike, moved across the country, and took a break. It didn't help that just before I moved, I had a real close call with a driver who blew through a stop sign as I was driving down the road about 55 miles an hour, missed me by about a foot, and that kind of put a scare into my bones. We've all got our reasons for giving up riding. My close call made me really step back and think about whether riding was worth the risk. At the time, I decided it wasn't, but part of that was because I lacked the skill and experience to feel confident on a motorcycle. As an older person, I'm less likely to rush out and take risks without at least a baseline level of knowledge. So when I started riding again, I consumed every piece of info I could find on rider safety. I started small, on a 150cc scooter, and worked my way back up to a 1200cc motorcycle. For me, that was the right way to do it, because I knew if I put myself into a situation I couldn't handle from the very beginning, I'd probably be put off of riding for the rest of my life. The reasons you left riding are valid, but they're not the final word. A lot may have changed since the last time you rode a motorcycle. We have electronic fuel injection, we have TFT screens the size of televisions. We've got all kinds of safety mechanisms on bikes now that we didn't have back when we started. This can be a good thing and a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing that bikes are safer now, because drivers certainly aren't. Modern day drivers are more concerned with their phones than they are with the road. It makes me crazy to see it, and it's one of the few things that makes me ragey when I'm out riding. What might be even worse than texting drivers are drivers that aren't driving at all. They're letting their Teslas do the work. Self-driving cars have little, if any, awareness of motorcyclists. This has been shown over and over again, and car manufacturers can't seem to be bothered to make their death robots stop hurting us. Instead, they build bigger, sharper-edged, reflective monstrosities that'll mow us down like we're crabgrass. Motorcycle manufacturers are starting to build into their bikes devices that may or may not improve our chances. Some of the same safety features we see in cars, like blind spot monitoring, traction control, anti-lock brakes, and so on. You can even get an airbag if you ride a Goldwing. The biggest change over the years, though, is us. And as returning riders, we need to adapt to this new landscape. This means being more aware, taking advantage of the good tech and leaving the bad, distracting tech behind, and using every ounce of our earned wisdom to keep ourselves alive and happy. It also means coming to terms with our limits as we age. Not everything has changed, though. It's still a blast to ride a motorcycle. It's still an expensive hobby. It's still a great way to meet folks, and it's therapy. So if you're ready to get back on the motorcycle, here's some things to think about. The first thing you need to do is regain your confidence. A good idea might be to take your basic motorcycle rider training again. Yeah, it's not the most exciting 2 days you'll ever spend, but it's a great way to get back on a bike and get a refresher on the very basics of riding. There are also a ton of great videos out here on YouTube that you can watch. Beware though that a lot of YouTube motorcycle content is geared towards the younger, more fearless among us. Also, quite frankly, there's a lot of bad advice floating around on YouTube. But you should be able to find good stuff if you look hard enough. If you have suggestions for good motorcycle rider training content on YouTube, drop a note in the comments and let us know. If you've done all that, the next question is, are you still licensed? Over the years, you may have shed your motorcycle endorsement. In some places, it's quite pricey to renew it, especially if you're not using it. Double check your license and make sure you're still legal. Okay, you've done all your refreshers and your license is up to snuff. What's next? Instead of running out and buying a bike, why not rent one? There are plenty of places you can do just that, and you'll have your pick of all kinds of different bikes. Try a Harley, try a Triumph, try a Honda. It may seem a bit costly to do this, but it's much cheaper than buying the wrong bike. When it finally comes time to buy a bike, you might go the same route I did. I bought a modern classic. All of the things I love about older motorcycles, but with the modern amenities that make them safer and more reliable. But whatever. If you want a street rocket and you can handle it, go for it. The first time you get back on the road, make it a memorable ride. Take lots of pictures so you have something to look back on. You can look at those photos and say, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the thumbs up button. It really helps the channel grow.